Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Adi, and today we have another team report from Liverpool Regionals and another top player joining us. So today I am joined by Idczaq. How are you doing?
I'm fine. A little bit nervous, but we should go through it pretty easily.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited to have you. Do you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Philip, also known as Idczaq. I started playing VGC when Sword and Shield came out in 2020. I played a few locals, and I really wanted to play some regionals, but as we all know, it was cancelled. Like everything was cancelled, and we had to switch to the online tournaments when I tried playing online tours, but didn't cut anything really. Um, I was 17. My most noticeable result was probably 17 in the second Players Cup when I missed the cut, but by the last game. So that's basically it.
hmm and but you came to Liverpool Regionals, of course, and you had a really, really impressive performance. So you got all the way to top four at Liverpool with this Evil Dawn team. So can you talk me through why you chose to build Evil Dawn and the team building process overall?
So when they announced the new format for Series 12, I knew I was gonna try Sun first because it's like throughout my career in VGC, my most played team was Sun. So I've tried a bunch of different options with Zacian and Calyrex Shadow, which was actually more popular back in the earlier meta, and I didn't quite like it. So I decided to try Evil Dawn because I found some paste with Evil Dawn, Groudon, Metagross, and I liked them like most of it. Like it was surprising to me because I didn't like Yveltal that much when we had like only one restricted, because I felt like being weak to the best restricted in the meta, like, which is Zacian, obviously, was really really bad. So but now with Groudon next to Yveltal, it could really pull out some work. And I really like the team. So, but it wasn't without some flaws, and we had to patch it later with for example Bronzong. So yeah.
Yeah, and so I guess talk me through what the individual Pokemon do and why you chose to train them the way that you did.
Okay, so we started from I say we because I've built this team with my friend Team Spirit. So we started from Yveltal and Groudon, which is basically from what I know a really iconic duo from the past. Um, so I would like, okay, so let's try it. Maybe it's good in this format, and it turned out the results are pretty good. It was the only team I broke like 1800 on Showdown ladder, so I was like, okay, let's try it in the IC, and I did really good. So, for example, the main core of the team is Yveltal, Groudon, and Venusaur. Well, like Yveltal is a standard AV set with four moves, like four standard moves: Foul Play, Snarl, Sucker Punch, and Oblivion. There's nothing surprising in here. What does the spread do? The spread is he's timid because it has to outspeed Ogre and Landorus T. That was the main reason to run timid, and bulk is to survive, like most important thing, which is obviously play rough from neutralization, um, and from the special side, it's like it takes really good, um, spout really good. It takes spout really good with even in rain. So it's like. mm 2 hit KO after it's not 2 hit KO after Snarl, so that's really good. Um, Especially when you also have Sun to mitigate some damage from the Groudon.
hmm
Groudon Groudon spread is interesting because many people run like 112 in speed to outspeed Zard and on +1 from H stream or EWeb or whatever on -2 on -1. Sorry. And we decided that we want to make our Groudon like a little bit faster because we wanted to outspeed other Groudons. So we like take a safe number and just speed grip the other Groudons, right? And it's also a standard set, like standard now. It's probably standard is the AV running in the Charizard double dawn. I call it double dawn. It's Gastrodon Groudon.
Yeah.
So I decided to go with a standard citrus with Swords Dance because I really needed the damage. And citrus actually allows you to survivization really good. Like it free hit KO on neutral. It's a free hit KO with Behemoth, so that's really good. Okay, moving next, we added of course Ensign. Ensign is like the most splashable member of the team. It fits in every comp, and as you can see, this Incineroar is really fast, and it has 96 sorry IVs. Basically to outspeed over Incense and to survive, and has enough bulk to survive the +1 Sacred Sword. We like many instances runs Shuka right now, right? But we decided to go with goggles because Calyrex Eyes with Amoonguss was pretty annoying to deal with. So that was actually a nice way to give us like some move to operate in this matchup.
Yeah, you do have 2 ground immunities. You don't really need Shuckaberry.
Yes. And the main star of the team is Regieleki. For the most time, we used Modest. We ran Modest, but we found out that Thunderous Eye was problematic if he airstreams with like something like Zacian next to him, and I found it really valuable to outspeed it even after the airstream. So that's what the speed does basically. What else? We kept the bulk from our Modest set. It has a really good role on Origin Pulse from Ogre and Rain when maxed, and we survive most +1 Behemoth Blades even after Life Orb chip from Lucky. So and we found out also that it's two hit KOing the even bulkier Thunderous Eye with AV after it set up the electric terrain. So that was pretty cool. We decided to run the Hyper Beam to hit like Groudon and ground times or Mons immune to it, and to have another. We don't have any Tailwind, so we decided to have as much speed control as we can. So we have Airstream from Iltal, Chlorophyll on Venu, and UEP and Hyper Beam on Regieleki. So we like didn't think it's like not enough. Okay.
Right. And for what it's worth, the faster teams, the tailwind oriented teams, I think a lot of them are Calyrex focused. They kind of struggle with Eviltal, or they are Kyogre focused, and they don't really want to take attacks from a lot of your teams anyways. So
okay, so now let's look at the Venu, because Venu has probably the most interesting like moveset from not like standard on the Sash set. So at first it was Leaf Storm, Earth Power, Weather Ball, and Sleep Powder, and I wasn't really satisfied with the Leaf Storm damage. It missed KO on no bulk Kyogre, and I was like, I was not maxing Venu as much as in previous formats, so I decided to swap Weatherball into Protect to have a really nice option to protect my Venu from breaking the sash from the potential fake outs and losing my mon turn one or having to switch, which actually came in handy in top eight versus Aurora Rayquaza, because I managed to hide the protect from the entire tournament and use it to my advantage in Top Cat. So that was actually pretty cool. So, and Frenzy gives me, I found it more worth it because I have 50% chance to OHKO the no bulk Kyogre, and even with some bulk, they often die to Vine Lash, to passive damage from Vine Lash. So that was actually really cool, and Earth Power to have something to hit Zacian with. Um, Standard
Yeah.
2.2, 2.2, yeah. Um,
Yeah, I really like this Venusaur set. I think that like you said, it doesn't Dynamax every game, right? There's a lot of like, there's like a lot of Zacian that you can't Dynamax into, or a lot of other Pokemon that it really struggles to like attack into. Um, and so giving it that utility just to click Sleep Powder, have a Sash, get to live a turn seems really, really valuable. And then if they ignore it, then you always can Dynamax later in the game.
yeah, yeah. And like I said before, at first we had like Metagross in the slot of Bronzong, and when you look at a team, having in mind that it was a Metagross, it really does struggle versus Calyrex Ice. Like you have three Ice Weakness and Aleki who dies to Max Quake, and Incin who is like not the worst, but it's still like Max Quake does a ton of damage into, especially if they manage to activate the weakness policy. And Metagross wasn't really helping with that. I found Metagross um, useless outside of Dynamax basically, and I was like obliged to max Metagross to even try to come out on top versus Kali, and I didn't like that. I was like looking for the last slot of the team for a very long time. We even tried Metagross with Entei over Incineroar to have like another mode with Bulldoze weakness policy, but it was underwhelming, really underwhelming. So we decided to go back to Incin and try to figure out the last slot. And I was like losing patience because I couldn't find the right slot. I was like, okay, so this team can't really work. It just dies to Ice Rex, and then I watched the team report of Joey UX9, right?
Mhm.
And it had it from I think it was from January, and he used the same five with Tapu Koko over Aleki. And it's like, Bronzong, let's try it because I found like Joey hide like hid his IVs and didn't really talk about particular matchups and why he
Mhm.
used Bronzong. He just said the Bronzong was good and he really liked it in the team. So I decided to give it a try, and I was stunned by the performance of this mon. Like with a proper help of Groudon or Venusaur with Max Quick Boost and Iron Defense, it could completely wall the Calyrex teams. And sometimes it was taking like 3 4 KOs even alone, sitting alone on the field. I was like, that's really good. And um, the possibility of ally switch and having Incineroar next to it is like really valuable, because if you are able to stall even one turn of max of Calyrex, it's so valuable for the team. So yeah, Bronson ended up taking the Metagross spot, um and that's basically it. And the spread is so special defensive to survive Astral Barrage from Calyrex Shadow, in case in case I wanted to bring Bronzong to Calyrex Shadow matchup. And I survived Water Spout from modest Ogre in rain. So yeah, and Calm is I found Calm better than Sassy because I expected a lot more Eveltals than they really but they didn't show up apparently. So Calm was basically to reduce the foul play damage for about like 10 HP.
Yeah, that's a great overview of the team. One thing I like about this team is that there really are like 4 Pokemon that you can reasonably Dynamax at any given time. And the Eliki is kind of the only one where I think you kind of feel obligated to Dynamax it when you bring it. Maybe even not that. But
I mean, yeah, like I think you don't have to max Aleki. Like all those 4 months, apart from of course Bronzong and Ensign, which I think you can max Ensign in certain situations, but all 4 months, Yveltal, Groudon, Vino, and Aleki are good both in and outside of Dynamax. And Aleki is kind of like you can max it and you want to max it, but Life Orb means you KO Zard, max Zard with T-Bolt, with solar power damage. So versus the most popular team, I always like, which is obviously the Gastrodon Groudon team. I always brought a Lecky, and it wasn't my main max of the team in this in this matchup. And um, like the team is so flexible. Like I was playing versus in Top Cut versus Rain, and I was like, okay, I'm bringing these 4, and I'm probably gonna max Aleki, and I ended up maxing Groudon because I was in position. I positioned myself that the way I did, and Groudon was actually much better max at that moment. So that's I think the main strength of the team, that you don't have to choose your Dynamax in team preview like most of the teams, like Solgaleo, Dialga, or Palkia. And that felt really cool that you have this momentum, and you can keep the tempo with switching, positioning yourself, and max whatever's best at the moment.
yeah, that's a really cool dynamic that I think not many teams have in this format. And yeah, lets you use your Dynamax very flexibly, which is cool. And I guess the other question that I have is that uh, you've opted for Venusaur. You don't have a Charizard on the team. Charizard, of course, being I think what everyone is trying to beat right now. It's such a powerful Pokemon. Did you ever feel like you wanted a Charizard, or were you just like very
Okay,
happy with the Idczaq?
the team was built at the beginning of the format when Charizard was kind of not really popular. Like I bet Venusaur was much popular than Zard, and then Charizard popped out of nowhere, and there was a slight problem that he usually ran Lumberry, uh, and I really struggled about the Lumberry version. But then at Salt Lake City, as we all know, the team that won had Berry for the mirror, and I was like, okay, so I bet everyone will now switch for Berry and uh, give up on Lumberry. And I was actually right. Everyone that showed up was either Life Orb or Berry. So Venusaur with the sleep option, the pressure from sleep powder was really so good, was doing so good versus that team. Like it's kind of weird that you use Venusaur to counter Zard, but it's really awesome. Like it's undeniably the best Pokemon into that matchup. And even though my Yveltal takes 2 wildfires from Zard with 1 wildfire chip, I often didn't don't even bring Yveltal into this matchup. I just play with 1 restricted. So yeah,
Okay.
and I didn't really feel like putting Zard into this team will help me with some matchups. So I'd rather I'm a Venusaur fanboy. So I'd rather stick to my 70% sleep powder. And yeah.
Yeah, that's fair, and it worked really well for you. Uh, so I guess on that note, do you want to talk me through how you approached some of the common matchups and what Pokemon you brought to them?
Mm, yes. So obviously before the tournament, I was prepping with my friends the most common matchups, and obviously we started from the Sanami, and like I said, we expected Zards to give up the Lumberry and switch to Chari. So with that in mind, it was easier to approach this matchup. And Vino is pretty much the best mon on the team, because with protect you can actually protect yourself from the potential fake out from Incineroar, and still have this sash and pressure the sleep powder with your Vino. Aleki Okoing Zard in Dynamax. I mean, this mon is just broken. I feel like Aleki, the person who made Aleki, like made a mistake.
I agree.
It's it should it shouldn't work like this, that you can Oko max Zard. But I mean, I take those. So Zard can't really max into you. And uh, sometimes when I led Evolto Aleki into that team, I felt like people. Okay, so people were more tempted to lead Zard into my team, because it looks like Zard just is good versus everything, with Grim next to it that can pressure the Scary Face onto my Lucky, for example, and slow it down. But I know that Airstream doesn't KO Aleki, so what I usually do is protect my Aleki, I get the Airstream, and then next turn, even after the Scary Phase, my Aleki is faster than Zard, who usually wildfires the Aleki slot, and I'm pressuring the KO. But in the top four, versus Eric versus Eric Rios, he was leading very passively, like with Incin and Grimsnarl, and I was actually prepared them the most for that lead, because then you just lead Venu Groudon, and you have Swords Dance, you can boost yourself, and they have to decide if they want to give you a free sleep powder and Swords Dance. It's very hard to pivot for them, because Incin is not goggles, and Zard is not Lam. So parting shot is actually very um, it's not very safe to parting. Yeah, so I felt really comfortable at that. For like, oh, this matchup was slightly in my favor, I would say. I mean, because of sleep powder. I know relying on sleep powder isn't always the best strategy, but um, the thing with the Gastrodon Groudon team is that it forces like neutral matchups across the board with most of the teams. And I was like, okay, so if I can have a neutral matchup into it, or I can have a 75% matchup with Sleep Powder. So I was like, okay, I just take those chances. And I still didn't feel like I needed to hit Sleep Powder to win this matchup, because I only went for that play in game three of my top four, and I lost this game. So yeah, it turned out it's not as reliable as other leads, but I faced like three of these teams, and every player like played so differently. So you have to kind of adapt to what your opponent is using.
Mhm.
Um, the second matchup is obviously Calyrex Ice. I tested a lot about for against Calyrex Ice, because I felt like even with Bronzong, I need a really clear game plan to deal with it, really clear lines. Because if something goes wrong, I'm just left with Bronzong versus Formons, and that's um, that's not something that I wanted. So I decided, I figured out that Vinu and Bronzong on the lead, although it's very passive, it kind of stops Calyrex from getting Trick Room, because the main redirector of the team is Among Us, so I can pressure sleep or max Vine Lash with Vinu, and with Quake Boost. Uh, Bronzong becomes unstoppable because most of the Calyrex teams are usually paired with Ogre or Palkia, and they don't like Vinu that much on the lead, and the Lucky, and I think Yveltal as well. You can pressure the Snarl and reduce the damage, and then Bronzong is even safer. Yeah, that's probably it. To be honest, my preparation for the tournament wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. I didn't manage um, to play very much, but still, I didn't feel like it was necessary. I preferred to play versus the top meta teams than playing the insane amount of games.
And like we talked about, your team is very flexible. So even if you don't have a really rigid game plan against some teams, you can still like Dynamax different things, use your all of your tools available to you, and put yourself in a position to succeed regardless of that. That being said, I am curious about the Kyogre match because that's I think the other really top team right now. So how did you approach the Kyogreization teams that you faced?
Okay, so mm, Kyogre is, I think it's a blessing for this team that Kyogre is as popular as it is right now, because it depends on the rest of the team probably, but the most standard right now I think it's with Zapdos or Kartana. Um, so if you manage to get Quakes with Venusaur, then Bronzong just completely walls that team. You can pressure the Snarl, and I must admit, I sometimes led Groudon and Bronzong into Ogre just to get the Quake Boost and Trick Room turn one. Because if you lead Kyogre, then I'm getting the Sun. I won the Weather War, and I'm most likely to get a Trick Room and get some more Quake Boost. Also, Kyogre doesn't like the Elekid that much. Um, Sometimes you just have to keep Aleki in the back, and you can just darkness with Yveltal, lowering its special defense, and then he obliterates whatever Kyogre is with Thunderbolt. Oh, that's actually another interesting fact I forgot. At first, we had Rising on Aleki for T-Bolt, but um, when Aleki doesn't Dynamax, it becomes so weak with the rising voltage. We can become so weak. So T-Bolt was better, especially for Charizards and Ogres. Um,
Mhm.
so I think the if you want to test it versus Rain, you will figure it out yourself you that the flexibility of this team allows you to try different modes. You can lead Aleki Yveltal with Groudon in the back, and Vinu you can lead Trick Room mode with Bronzong. It all depends on the rest of the team, and um, I think the team is built around not losing to ogre teams basically.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean you've got so many different things that can do a lot of damage to it. I'm not surprised as long as they don't like outpace you. I think you're always in a really good spot. But I guess the other question that I have is, were there any Pokemon that you really struggled with facing with this team?
Yeah, there is only one. There is only one, and it's Kyurem. Kyurem, but my friend told me, listen, Philip. This your team is just you just lose to Kyurem. I mean, you have to face it, but let's be honest. How many Kyurems are you gonna face in the tournament? And I was like, not so many probably. It's like, yeah, Kyurem is a myth. Kyurem is a myth, and
Yeah.
I think if you ever happen to play versus Kyurem, you have to lead Bronzong Venusaur and sleep out the trick room and get one of these. Just try to trade with it and see what happens. Or you have to hard predict it with Max Guard parting, or I don't know. It's really hard. It looks really hard. It's like 80% in their favor unless you like manage to hit sleep and get like 3 turns. It's
Yeah.
awful. Yeah,
Well,
it's really
and,
awful.
and for what it's worth, my joke is that the way to beat Kirim is by starting out 2-0. The
Oh
I don't
yeah,
think there was a single. I don't think there was a single Kirim in top 32 at
yeah,
Liverpool or at Salt Lake City or at top 16 in Brisbane. I might be wrong about that. There might have been one or two that snuck in, but
yeah. I
it has
think
not performed very
I
well
think
recently.
it's hard to bring Kurem to a tournament full of Zacians when every move that Zacian has hits him for super effective damage. So yeah, I hope people weren't bringing Kurem into this tournament, and yeah, I dodged it. I mean,
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and that's like part of it, right? If you, especially if you are like, I think we all understand that the Rinya Sun team is probably the strongest team in the metagame right now, at least the best, the most well-rounded team. But if you're deviating from that and you're trying to give yourself an advantageous matchup against that, sometimes it means conceding other matchups that are more on the fringes, and you just have to hope that you don't face those. Yeah.
exactly, yeah, and looking at the teams that were in top 8 in Liverpool, I think I had a really good shot of with against every one of them. I feel like yeah, Eric the set with Eric was kind of tense, and it could be the other way around. But yeah, I think I had a really good shot with all the teams.
Hmm. And so, on that note, do you want to talk about one or two notable matchups that you played over the course of the tournament?
Yeah, so the first important match was actually round 2. I faced the team I was preparing for. It was Kyrex Ice with Palkia, and game one. Game one, I decided to go with Groudon and Bronzong and try to cheese with Ally Switch turn 2. And I quaked the turn 1, and I got Geyser. And turn 2, I decided to Ally Switch, as I said, and I lost my Groudon without doing anything because I Iron Defense um, turn 1, and I still managed to win because Bronzong took 4 KOs in that game. It's like holy crap! This Bronzong is nuts. This it's really it was like okay, it does its job, it works. So it wasn't like we played bad in the preparation. It's just it beats this team if you play properly. So game 2, I decided like not to make the same mistake and went with Vinu Bronzong and completely destroy that matchup to 2-0. And then round 5, probably in Swiss, I faced William Tansley. It was like the first opponent I knew, the first like I noticed from the nickname. It's a friend of my friend from Poland, and I was like, okay, that's a really good player. I don't know if I can win that because I was so nervous. This was my first tournament. I was like, okay, and he of course brought the best team in the format. What's thought to be the best team in the format, Gastrodon Groudon. I was like, okay, how do I approach it? And I think I completely obliterated him game 1 as far as I remember. Like it was not even close. Game 2, I made a small misplay that I could protect my Venu and stall the last turn of light screen and win 2-0. But I wasn't sure about frenzy plant damage into Groudon behind line screen, and it didn't KO. But it was actually pretty good not to reveal the protect, because later in the tournament it helped um, that I didn't reveal it, because in the top cut nobody knew I was protect. And game 3, it was the sleep powder fiesta. I managed to sleep his Zard, and yeah, after the game, like William told me, I had nothing for the combination of Aleki and Vinu, and I was like, okay, that will help me in my future matches versus Sun. And he was actually right that the fact that Charizard is not Lamp anymore is is really beneficial for the team. And I think the only way we can try to stop you is Scary Face from Grimmsnarl into Venusaur. But is it really a problem? I was thinking it's not a problem, because if I get Scary Face and I hit Sleep Powder after Zard moves, then the next turn I'm guaranteed that it's gonna sleep, so I can set up Swords Dance with my Groudon, because my Venusaur is obviously gonna die from Wildfire. So I could set up, I could kill Zard with a Lecky. Um, yeah, this team just, let's face it, the it has nothing for Sleep Powder Venu. I think that's my opinion, and yeah.
Well, the other thing that is that electric and grass forms a really strong pin against that team because right they I mean they have great electric resist. They have a Grassrodon and a Groudon, but none of those Pokemon want to take a grass type attack. And so if you double up with a Thunderbolt and a Max Fine Lash, for example, there's nothing that they can really switch into that slot either.
Yeah, I
So
don't
it just
think.
puts a lot of pressure on almost all of their leads.
Yeah, I don't think you're ever gonna bring Gastrodon into that team, but yeah, if you want, you can try, but I don't think Gastrodon is an option here. So you have to operate with Groudon probably to counter
Mhm.
the Aleki.
Uh, but yeah, those are all the questions that I had. Again, congratulations on your incredible run all the way to top four at your first regional. And do you have any final words or shout outs that you wanted to give?
Yeah, I would like to give shout outs to my friends from Poland who helped me prepared, who were standing next to me when I played Top Cat and cheering me up. It was really helpful. Like, I was so nervous. I couldn't even explain how important that was to me and to my friend Team Spirit Devon, from Pennsylvania, from the US, who helped me build this team. And he's basically behind my every spread, maybe apart from Venu, because uh, that wasn't this hard. But yeah, he made all the spread, and he told me why Modesty Veltal was bad and why I should run Timid, and he explained every single use of the spread. And yeah, it was it's also his top four. I would say it's also his win.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah. Well, again, thank you for coming on. I definitely recommend that you try out this team. It's been a little bit since Evil Dawn saw success, but this definitely seems like it has a really well-rounded matchup spread into the metagame. Of course, the rental code is on screen right now. The paste will be in the description down below, and you can also follow Idczaq on socials as well, on Twitter and whatnot, in the description. So definitely would recommend. Yeah, and thank you all for tuning in. And until next time, I will see you all later.
bye.